I just started getting
Okay, I will do this abnormally large. Here we go.
pass or fail issue.
Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of where we're going with this. Fresh screen. This, what did I say this was called? I don't even remember. I can't even remember the last time I talked about
adding and subtracting.
So under polynomials,
Why are we so far in math?
we are not. We haven't had 2 years of nothing.
What's the farthest
Surviving. I don't know. Now I'm going to do this. It boils down to this. Watch. If I have x plus 3 times x minus 5. We've done this before. This is not dividing, obviously. This is multiplying. And what's the famous word that pays when you multiply binomial times binomial? FOIL, thank you very much. The two first terms multiply to give you x squared, right? The last term is going to be minus 15, because that's what, and then the middle term comes when you combine negative 5x plus 3x, which is minus 2x. Now, if this is true, ladies and gentlemen, let me watch. You know that phrase that says everything that you needed to know you learned in kindergarten?
What?
Okay. No. Yeah. Think about this. This is a multiplication problem. I multiplied this binomial times this binomial and got this. Correct? Which means, if I do any other, let me do a different multiplication problem. 2 times 5 is 10. If I know that, I can also rearrange all this and say that my answer, which is 10 here, this is my answer. What was that? Did you hear something?
Oh my goodness.
Did you hear something? Well, what else?
I think we should go outside and
Don't lose it now. In a multiplication problem, ladies and gentlemen, because 2 times 5 equals 10, if you divide 10 by 5, you get 2, or if you divide 10 by 2, you get 5. The same thing is going to be true for a polynomial. If I take my answer and I divide it by one of the binomials, x plus 3, the answer is going to be that other binomial. And that's what we're searching for today. We are searching for the other binomial, because they're going to give you a division problem where you're given the trinomial divided by a binomial, and you have to figure out what the other binomial is. Not always are they going to work out. That's why you might say, well, can't I just do that? Now, what does that look like, you say?
What does that look like?
Well, let's look at one of the problems on tomorrow's test. Or was it a test? I'm sorry, not a test. So let's say I've got this first one. How do you zoom in, by the way?
Not tomorrow. The plus button at the bottom.
Where?
Click on the screen.
There's no plus button on my screen. Click what's your
There's definitely a math test.
This plus? Maybe, just maybe, we'll get enough to wet our proverbial whistle.
Come on, Grace, give us Grace.
Okay, so here we go. Ready? Write this problem. Write this problem down. Write this problem down. Right there. Write that down, because that would be problem number 1 on your homework. So you might just.
We don't have homework.
Okay.
With homework. What homework? We don't have homework. What homework?
Here's the deal. Okay, first of all, it's a division problem. So you could probably look at this and maybe figure out the answer, but I don't care, because you got to know how to do it the long, hard way, so that when it doesn't work out, even though like this one does, it's going to work out. How do we write division problems? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the way we did it. If it was, 85 divided by 13, you would take the 85, you put it under the box, and it's being divided by 13. The same thing is true of this. You take the n squared minus 6n minus 7, and you don't have to put the parentheses, and put it in the box, and you put the n plus 1 outside of the parentheses.
So how is
Would you please not tell me you don't understand it until after?
I don't.
Okay, so here we go. Watch how easy this is. Okay. Like I said, everything you need to learn, technically here you learned in 5th grade, and that's probably when we did some division. When you do division, you do the divide, the multiply, the
I remember this
subtract,
in 5th grade.
the bring down, or if you were in Mrs. Lutz's class, you did the gums, goes into under multiply, subtract, or whatever it was there. Okay, so here's the deal. Watch how easy this is if you just follow this pattern. Okay, the first thing you do, the only difference with this is you got two terms here, but don't worry about the two terms. Just think about the first term. You want to think about what times this gives you this, or really n squared divided by n. What times n would give you n squared? And n. Not a 2n, because 2n would give you 2n squared, just 1n. What did you do with this? Once you figured out what times 13 gave you 85, you wrote that number up to, what is it, 6? 8, 7, 8, and 6.
Circle.
So, I'm going to put my n up here. Now, the reason I put it up here, I'll show you in a minute here. I'm going to put n up there because n squared divided by n is that. What's the next step? You multiply. Well, I take this n and I multiply it by both of these things, which gives me n squared plus n. Okay?
Wait.
I did my dividing. That's where the n came from. N times what gives me n. I multiplied this n times this and got this, just like a normal division. Where'd I get what 3n?
Well, just
There's no 3
the
up
extra
there.
n.
Jordan, I'm looking at my whole board and there's not a 3 up there.
No, we gather extra.
This n here,
13.
No, the one.
this n.
Hey,
All right.
N times 1 gets you 1n.
Oh, it's easy then.
13 doesn't go into 80.
Jordan has a valid question. Where does n come from? When I multiply, I did my division. I figured this was an n. When you multiply, you have to multiply this n times both of these terms. N times n gave me n squared, and n times 1 gave me 1n. If Jacob were here, he'd tell you he don't like it, but he's not, so we can write it there. Okay?
Yeah.
Then the next thing after the multiplying was you subtract, and I will tell you this is where people go wrong. To subtract this, you have to change these both to their opposite signs, because that's what subtracting is. You don't think about it when you do numbers because you don't really do that much there. But when you subtract, this becomes its opposite, this becomes its opposite, and then you add it. Which makes sense because I want this to go away. That was my goal in doing that whole first division thing. But negative 6n minus n gives me a negative 7n. That's my subtracting part. And then I bring down. And then the whole process starts again, and you ask yourself, what do I multiply n by to give me negative 7n? A negative 7. I write that up there. I do the multiplication. Negative 7 times n is negative 7n. Negative 7 times positive 1 is negative 7. Then I do the subtracting. And again, people go wrong because they don't do this. When you subtract, if you subtract this, you technically are changing them to their opposites and combining. And when you do that, this goes away, this goes away. You get nothing left, which is this. So you end up with this divided by this is n minus 7, which if you multiply those two together, you would get that. Now before you cry and say that you...
normal natural temperament
That was my plan.
and then push small. Okay. I'm just wondering
Actually,
why.
this is more than orbital math. This is like math beyond their comprehension.
Well,
So it's actually
that is
exceedingly
beyond.
great math.
What is this?
This is miserable math.
And again, before you say you don't understand, let's do a couple problems.
So a question.
Already.
Yes.
Before you put the positive 7n plus 7, how did you get that? You have to change the sign. No, I know that. I meant up here. Like,
How'd that get this 7?
No, how you got that at the bottom when you added them?
Tell them, Victoria.
Positive 7n.
They originally were negative 7 minus 7.
I know that. How did you get them? I don't care about positive or negative.
This 7
Oh.
Let me give you problem number 2. Well, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
I asked him that.
I know how to do it.
Ready? Get set. Go. So, here's what number 2 looks like. Same thing. It's this being divided by that. So you go x squared minus 5x plus 6 is being divided by x minus 3. we go. Ready?
No.
Again, you don't consider the whole thing, you just work with the x in the first term there. So what times x gives you x squared?
X.
And x. So that's the division part. Then you multiply. What do you get if you multiply this x times both of those? You get x squared minus 3x. Let me caution you again. This is where everybody goes wrong. They don't actually think about subtracting it. When you subtract it, it changes both of the signs to their opposites, which is good because you wanted the x squared to go away, which it does. Negative 5x plus 3x is negative 2 minus 2x, and then bring down. Remember all those times I said you must use that arrow back in the day? Then starts all over again, and you say, okay, now what times this x would give me negative 2x? So minus 2. Then you do the multiplication. You get negative 2x. Negative times that gives you a positive 6. Do not forget at this point you need to change them to their opposites because you're subtracting. And bam, it goes away. You get no.
Okay, I get it.
Oh, it's kind of easier.
I get it!
No, you don't.
I know. I'll work out this
Right now, let's address your question. Jordan.
So when you're adding 6, why does it go away? Like,
I did. I subtracted. I had a positive 6 and a negative 6. They went away. When I changed it to its opposite, you changed its opposite. Frankie asked a grand question which we address next. Let's go with something that's not quite as easy.
What?
I would say number
It gets
7.
more difficult.
I'll go, yeah, let's go down. Because Frankie said what happened? Did they always work out evenly?
We all need
Why would
like
you ask that? Frankie, why?
What are those?
Everybody thinks they got it until it's
Oh,
over.
wait.
What?
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait.
People wonder why I don't have a soul.
No. I'm not going to let you do this on your own because this has some other pieces that you don't.
It's just like high school. Why is everything huge? There's 4 numbers. Sorry.
I'm allergic to this, actually. I'm allergic to meth. I mean math.
I skipped this part of my life.
Even Colin doesn't know what. I understand.
You're
All right,
not
wait.
Colin.
I don't
See,
think
Colin's
This one's got a few more pieces to it, so let's again just follow the same
Is
steps.
that a 61? I can't read.
Yes.
What times 7n would give you 28n?
4n.
4n squared. And then you have to do the multiplying part. And again, if you don't come up with 28n cubed here, you did something wrong because that was your whole goal in saying what times I gives you that now. Negative 8 times 4n squared is a negative 32n squared. Please, please, please don't forget. You need to subtract, which means these signs change to their opposites, which is what you want to happen. This goes away. 67 plus, negative 67 plus 32 is a negative 35n squared, and then bring down. Plus
Well, don't we cross out the n? No.
Then you say, okay, what times 7n gives me negative 35n squared?
Negative 5n.
n. We multiply, you get negative 35n squared minus 40n.
What it would be positive, right?
Hey,
It's a positive, a negative.
Because it's a negative times a
Oh,
negative.
sorry, negative 5n times negative is positive. Sorry,
But it's
Frank.
going to end up being.
Yeah.
I just did that to make sure you were paying attention.
Wait.
Then you change their signs, which becomes positive 35, which is good. This actually does become a negative 40n. So this goes away when you add them together. Positive 61, negative 40 is positive 21n. Bring down my last thing. Please don't let it be. Oh.
Yes, it works.
It worked out. I need to give you one that doesn't.
It's supposed to
But
work
I
out.
like.
So then what times 7n gives me that? 3. 3 times 7n is 21n. And 3 times negative 8 is negative 24, which is what you want. Subtract plus. Get nothing.
Where did?
Whoa, where do you, what? Where did what?
Okay.
I don't know where is this?
Where did what come from? Hi, what?
Travis's rocket science.
So where does like the bottom number, like the bottom numbers come from?
These?
Yeah.
When I multiplied 3 times this, I got this. The same.
How'd you get 3 then?
How did I get 3 for what?
At the top.
3 times 7 gave me the 21 and I needed here.
I don't know, how'd you get the 3?
From 24.
You took 20.
I said in my head, what times 7 is 21, and I came up with 3. Same way I got 4 here. 4 times 7 was the 28. 5 times 7 was the 35. 3 times 7 was the 21. Andrew, it doesn't look good, whatever you're trying. Hold on a second. Hi, hop, before you get all bent out of shape, Joe. Let me look at you.
So we pretty much just took like 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Number 8, ladies and gentlemen. Number 8. There are a couple nuances for sure. And by nuances, I mean nuances.
Oh yes. No, wait. Maybe.
Oh, this is good, I think.
Guys, good.
This one's not gonna work out.
Yeah, there's 2 things that happen with this one. Okay. Here is one thing you must do. Okay. You notice there's something kind of strange about that guy there, in that it goes right from x squared down to a number without an x term in it. You must, if you're doing division this way, you must have, the variable must go in descending order, and there needs to be an exponent in each of those categories. In other words, this. If I went right from x squared to minus 1, in order to keep your rows and everything straight when you do the division part, you need to put something in there for x. And what would that be? It would just be a 0x. You just need it there to hold down that place. If you don't, things get really messed up.
What'd you put a 0 in front of the x?
Because that is nothing. And that's what I don't have it. I don't have any x's except for 0.
You can't just put 0.
Area of a square.
Well, you could, but you can't. Just trust me, you want to go from x squared to an x to nothing.
Alright.
Just like if it was x cubed minus 1, you'd want to go x cubed plus 0x squared plus 0x. Okay, here's where it gets important. Importante. Who has it? Your shop.
We square the 0x or no? Does it get squared out?
No, you're putting it there because it's missing an x term, not an x squared. So,
Okay.
so here we go. Same thing, what times x gives me x squared? I need an x. I do the multiplying, I get x squared minus 3x. I do my subtracting, this changes to its opposite, this changes to its opposite. Like I said, I just put that 0 there to hold the place, because you're just going to get 3x when you do that. And then you subtract, you get a negative 1. So, then what, this is where hop, to get this next number, you look at this and this. What times x gives me 3x? A 3. I do the multiplying, I get 3x minus 9. Ruh-roh. Change to their opposites. You end up with an 8 that doesn't have anything left to bring down. Now, does anybody know what's going to happen with that?
Does it get a remainder? Can we do the remainder?
No decimals, no remainders.
What?
You forget about it. Forget about it.
You make this, go back to this. If you had 7 into 15, and you were doing fractions, 7 goes into 15 twice, and you get 14. you don't put remainders. That's 5th and 6th grade stuff. If you're looking to do this in fraction form, you take the remainder and you put it over the thing you did the dividing. So in that case here, same thing. You take the 8, it's a plus 8, and you make a fraction out of it by putting it over this x minus 3.
And the whole thing starts all over again.
Oh, there's no starting over.
Oh. Alright, class is over.
Now, one for you to try.
Okay.
No. Wait, if someone gets it right, no homework?
I'm sure somebody's going to get it right.
Can we have
3
If
people
you all
get
get
it
it
right.
right, then we'll have
But
Yeah.
Sean,
Yeah.
because when Jacob and Zach are gonna fail that. It's even better.
Save my math.
He tried to save my math grade in a day.
Which one have we not done?
Wait, can I use my math pads from memory?
Let us try, and again, if it was me and I was you, I definitely wouldn't try to squeeze it
Cross
out
off
of
1,
this.
2, and 9 and 8. 1, 2, 9, and 8. Cross those off. We already did those.
Let's go with, let's try number 10. Okay. El numero 10.
Cross off 1, 9, or 1, 2, 9, and 8. We did those.
Problem
Wait, so what are we doing now?
number 10.
Okay.
First thing about this.
Just do set show. I can't with this game. Roll you're actually hacking.
What problem is that?
And dead for a couple of years.
Oh! Why? I don't like this. I don't.
Andrew, unfortunately, if our world was based on what Andrew likes, I wouldn't have a job.
Because it did get dead.
You wouldn't have a job.
Or we wouldn't be in school.
Andrew would own a hot dog stand.
I would have. That'd be my fallback.
So we only see this.
I want to get the hot dog stand.
Are you opening it this week?
I'll stop
Are
by
you
later.
see all the dirt? Are you opening it this weekend?
Looks like mine.
It's like crap or a limestone. You said it was dirt.
Oh my goodness.
Woodrow Wilson. That's what I was going for.
It really was. Don't do it, Kunacek. You don't want any part of that. Oh, Jordan. So
Yeah,
quickly?
I don't know how.
I do.
How about this? I will take one problem off. For every person that gets it right, I will take a problem off.
Oh, we're doing this now?
But it's out of like 19.
I know, but I've already done 5 of them. So if
Well, then
17 of you get it right, Jordan, there's no homework. Why don't we look at this
Do we
as a
even have
process?
17
I don't know what it
years?
is.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
There's 19. There's 19 people.
I'm already confused.
Okay, so everybody.
Guys, I know how to do this work.
What do you even? Rachel, help me.
Why?
Why?
Because this doesn't make sense.
Colin, help.
I don't know that that's Nathan.
Nathan, I need you. Where did you get?
One and squared.
Okay, so it's 1 and 0.
Yeah, people, I am tired.
Yes.
Honestly, I'd be fine if 10 of us.
You have to raise your hand when you're done.
Just like a small question.
Actually, I should have you just write your answer on a piece of paper.
Yeah, what do we even do first? What's the first step?
Oh, it's hi hop.
Yeah.
Hi.
I don't know.
What's the first step in a division problem? What time do I give you that first term?
I don't know.
What's 50 divided by
What time does the divisor gives you?
1 n squared.
That is, you said 1n squared. Nice job, Andrew.
I said 100. I
Except we don't do the 1.
It's not. No. Charge it down.
Take the shit. Wait.
Throw it at the class that you hated.
William Mallard. William Mallard.
Oh, so it's just n squared, not 1 squared?
Now hit JFK.
Either way, it's fine.
Now hit JFK.
I have a question. Go over, please.
Hit JFK.
How much stuff have you stolen? And Julia and
This doesn't work.
Frankly, help.
Mr. Hall, I have a question. It's not working. It's not.
According to Jordan, it works out.
I didn't do something.
Hey, man, shout out. I got it. It does not work.
7. It doesn't work out.
But so subtract, put a fraction on it.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm walking in.
No, like no. But can you come here? I just
If
want,
I could give you some advice,
I just have one question.
the end of the class period is always the most critical not to let get away from you and lose your focus. That's the part of the class where the teacher does assign homework. If it gets all messy and screwy and whatever, then the teacher just goes, well, just read the rest of the thing. Because he's so upset that you're just not trying to focus till the end. Now, if you stay with me and we work together, then the teacher's usually in a good mood. He goes, maybe just a couple problems will hold us through. So that's kind of like, I can't tell them you I can go. Sure. I like questions.
Well, I'm at the end. I don't.
It's not working
You
out.
don't know what to do with the remainder, George?
Oh,
No?
we put it over. My bad.
See, we talked about that, George. It's called positive and negative reinforcement.
Questions on
Okay. Let's try this.
How many people feel relatively confident they got the answer or something? How many got an answer?
I do.
answer.
Like an answer that worked out?
It didn't work out, but I'm
It didn't work out,
trying.
but-
If you get to the end and you just
I
have
still
a
have
number left over, you probably did it right. Because if you didn't, it's not, everything's, you'll look at it and you go, there's no way I can do that part of the problem.
Can I just give some help? Just one.
I will, because I'm going to do it right
No,
now.
no, 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 no.
Wait.
So, here we go. Follow along with me here.
That's bullying.
What times 3n gives you 3n cubed?
1n.
Just an n squared. Or 1n. If you like, we'll put the 1 there because that helps people. Sorry, Jacob, I know you're listening in because I'm sure you're going to watch this. Then you do the multiplying. You get 3n cubed. N squared times that is plus 4n squared. And as I said, most times when people run into trouble is they don't do this. You need to change this to its opposite, change this to its opposite. Okay, this goes away. Negative 17 and a negative 4 is a negative 21 n squared, which is good because it's can be divided by 3. If you didn't get that, and if you got to this point, you probably could. No, you can't. This is always going to work out for you because you can't do it any other way. Bring down negative 25n. How many people got that far? Alright, then the whole process starts all over again. What times 3n gives you negative 21n squared? That's a negative 7n.
Yeah.
Multiply, you get negative 21n squared. Multiply, negative 28n. Change to their opposites because you're subtracting. This goes away. 28 minus 25, you get 3n. Again, happy day, because that's what this bad boy is right here. Bring this down, you get plus 11. What times 3n gives you 3n? A 1. Multiply 3n. Multiply 4. Subtract. This goes away, you get a 7 left over. And you put it over 3n plus 4.
Can you make
I have
7
faith in
negative?
myself again.
Can you make it negative?
That's not
Is
that
that
hard.
You can't make it negative. Why would it be negative?
Wait, so how many people got it right?
No, that's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Samuel, you got it right.
6,
I
that's
thought you got it
7.
right. I figured out what I did wrong and I
That's
finished
7.
it. Now he finished
We
it.
missed it on 10 people.
Sure you did, Andrew.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5.